Fredrick Okango is Secretary Political Affairs and a member of the Azimio Technical Committee. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning. Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you so much.
Fred was our first guest in the situation.
I remember. I remember. It has been a while, but I'm here.
It's been a while.
Yes.
That time you were talking about Punguza Mzigo.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now you're talking about what?
Right now.
Punda Mechoka.
Still Punguza Mzigo.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
It's the same
thing. We're talking about, a regime that do not care. We're talking about people that are shooting Kenyans, We're talking about the high cost of living that must go down. Exactly.
That regime that you were talking about against then, the people who were in it then are the ones you're working with now.
Not
okay,
quite
no, it's
true.
okay. We'll have that conversation.
Not quite
You wait. City.
Yes.
Why don't you give Mr. Okango today's proverb?
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week are from the country of Guinea. Not Guinea-Bissau, not Equatorial Guinea, not Papua New Guinea.
Guinea.
Not Guinea, the currency. This is the country of Guinea. A cow that has no tail should not try to chase away flies.
A cow that has no tail should not try to chase away flies.
Yes.
Fredrick, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
Very interesting. But I think when you're incapacitated, either naturally or by accident, there's nothing much you can do to help yourself. And I can relate. I can actually relate. Today, we have a regime that doesn't seem to have a tail. They have no reason chasing flies that are now coming out to pounce on them. Because the flies are so many and they're looking for food. I'm not in any way insinuating that the people are flies, but I'm saying the public have come out to make certain requests. Then they have prolonged it to a demand. And then now they are saying, we would want to see our needs addressed, the concerns. Remember, these are people, Eric, that elected the leadership in office. They elected MCA all the way to a president.
Yes.
But those concerns have not been addressed.
By
the leadership.
By all the leaders they
Exactly.
elected. Okay.
Exactly. And that's why, you see, for us in Azimio, first of all, allow me to take this opportunity to condemn the violence that we have witnessed. It was unnecessary. It is unnecessary. It should not happen. On Friday, Eric, has talked about flies. I accompanied our deputy coalition leader, Martha Karua, who was here the other time, Kalonzo Musyoka, to Machakos to do a fact-finding mission from Lolongo all the way. And we saw at Shalom young men lying in the morgue with bullet wounds on their heads, chest, back, legs. We walked into 3 wards, Savannah, Shalom, Machakos Hospital. People in numbers lying in beds, shot by the police because they were demonstrating. We are asking ourselves, what happened to the interpretation of Article 37 that provides for peaceful demonstrations?
Yeah.
Our friends have been...
So you went into this area. Now, it's actually an interesting one that you've gotten into this. So you actually went into the hospitals. You
Yes,
found those that had been injured and those that had unfortunately been shot dead.
Yes.
Right? Where were they demonstrating? Those that were ended up in those facilities.
What the hospital authorities told us that they were picked on the roadside from Lolongo, some in Machakos town, and some have been identified, some have not been identified. There's a case of even a student who was coming from school and was shot.
Where?
In Mololongo. There was a lady who was coming from work and in that confrontation was hit by a car. There was a young man who was working in Molongo from Bungoma, was shot in the arm. So you ask yourself, why use excess force to quell violence? or to disperse protesters.
Yeah.
But that is not the issue, Eric and Tim. The issue is, why are people demonstrating? Our friends, the other side, are telling us...
Are they your friends, really?
That, yes, they are our friends, because we're all friends in this country.
No, we are not.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Oh, no, we are not.
We are. They are telling us
You
that...
cannot choose his friends, City. If he has
No.
decided
They are his friends too.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a lovely conversation we're having, but you can't begin a statement where by generalizing and saying we are friends, because I would then ask him directly, is that how you treat your friends? Is this how you go about communicating with your friends?
I
Who
agree.
you claim are your friends?
I agree with you.
Yes.
But remember, even friends differ.
Yes.
And when friends differ, they become enemies. But they can still be friends. What we are hoping for and praying for as a country is we remain friends. And I was just telling you, these demonstrations, Eric, I'm sure you have covered them for quite some time now. But we have never witnessed county-wide demonstrations that we witnessed on Wednesday. Why? They have told us it is Raila Amolo Odinga, our coalition party leader, who is sending people to the streets. It is no longer about Raila Odinga. We saw long-distance drivers, truck drivers. We saw matatu owners. We saw Uber. We saw people demonstrating in Nyeri, Kiambu, Murang'a, Homa Bay, Kisumu, Nairobi, Busia. And they have got varied reasons for demonstration. And therefore, we have a public or a sovereign that are just tired and frustrated. The cost of living is high. The leadership is not addressing it. And they are being gagged. So they are saying, what is the next option? The next option is to exercise their sovereignty and go through the constitution. Legal means to express themselves. They have told us they are limiting it. You know, to demonstrate is a Bill of Rights, Eric. And this Bill of Rights can only be limited when there's justifiable reasons. Their reason is because Raila Odinga has called it. Not even because there are people causing mayhem and criminals. They're using tear gas. In that confusion, criminals invade peaceful protests and cause violence. We want to ask the police, deal with the criminals. Don't deal with peaceful demonstrators, because the peaceful demonstrators have got nothing to do with the looting.
Fred, can I ask you? You've said that previously folks had said that it was Raila Odinga then who was insisting on these demonstrations, and that we've seen last week that people are coming out around the country without being, essentially asked to do so. If that was the case, would we not see these sporadic demonstrations without a call for a particular day? Would a day need to be given for people to come out? If what you're saying is the case, then people would be coming out on a Monday or on a Saturday without being told that it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
It's only that they escalate on the days that have been called for. But ordinarily, other days, they're demos. And a demo doesn't mean going to the street to just make noise and shout. You can sit in your house and decide today, I'll demonstrate. You can sit on the street and decide today, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'll sit here till evening until I'm heard. Those are happening. So the ones that we have been focusing on, or the media has been focusing on, are the major ones that we have seen when there's now convergence, when now the politicians call people out, and then people take advantage and say, okay, fine, there's a strength in numbers. Let's join all together, the civil society, the politicians, the public. Those are ones that now people are seeing. But I've seen instances, the other time, before even Wednesday, there were people who were demonstrating on certain issues of water in Kiambu. There are people who are demonstrating on issues of bad roads in Mbakasi East and Isili. We have seen that. Why is it that the leadership is not listening? They're not listening because they are confusing cosmetic and artificial majority in parliament for legitimacy. And I want to remind some of them, there used to be a very powerful king in the book of Daniel called Belshazzar. If you remember, Belshazzar did not listen. Then a writing came on the wall, Mene Mene Tekel. Today we are seeing a writing on the wall when the people are saying enough is enough.
Are the people saying this?
Yes,
Right.
they are. They are.
Is Azimio in charge or in control of the demonstrations?
Not
Was
any-
Azimio in control of the demonstrations on Friday?
Not anymore.
Who took control of the
Not
demonstrations?
anymore. Azimio raised issues of concern. They said the cost of living must go down. They said we must respect multi-party democracy. They said we must look into the electoral injustice in this country. Then the people came out and said, for sure, if the finance bill was forced into an act and passed through parliament, and there was admission by the members of Kenya Kwanza that they bought people through soup and money, then for sure, it was forced down our throats, and
So
that bill
Azimio
must
is
go.
not in charge.
Azimio,
Azimio is not in charge of its
Azimio-
members in parliament. Azimio is not
Azimio-
in charge of the demonstrations.
not at all. That's not what I'm saying. Azimio is in charge of its activity, its support base, and its members. But they're not in charge of the widespread demonstrations that we're now seeing in the country from even Kenya Kwanza assumed zones.
How can we say so?
We can say so because we have seen where people come out to demonstrate, not because of the issues that Azimio has raised, but because of other issues like drivers being forced to go back for testing. That was not an issue of Azimio. Like water towers that are being mismanaged in those other parts of the county. That is not Azimio. Like bad roads in Isili. That is not Azimio. Azimio is just part of the public that has raised concern. And you know, the good news is that majority of the issues that, in fact, all the issues that Azimio has raised are affecting every other person who has other reasons to demonstrate. So the reason why I'm saying Azimio is not in control, because there's this narrative that Azimio is sponsoring demos. Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, led by Raila Amolo Odinga, is not sponsoring any violence. Our coalition chairman, President Uhuru Kenyatta, is not sponsoring any violence. And therefore, it should be known that the violence that we have witnessed, those were criminals that invaded peaceful protest, and they should be dealt with as criminals. They should leave alone the peaceful demonstrators who have shown that they have got something worth being listened to.
I hear you. Let me ask the question again so we can then go step by step. So Azimio calls a demo and states a date for the demo. Sabasaba calls another one and says it's going to be on this day, on the 5th, on Wednesday. There's no demonstration today. There's no demonstration that's been called by any grouping tomorrow.
I'm not sure if there's none. There could be. We never know.
We have not heard of any. But on Wednesday, Azimio has called for a demonstration. If that demonstration ends up with the first thing that you see is people pouring onto a road and demolishing the road, would you say that Azimio is in control of the demonstration that it calls, or is it not in control of the demonstration?
First thing first, Eric. Who are these people destroying the roads? Who are they? Isn't it not the work of the police to protect property and life?
That is true.
Where are the police when they're doing this?
You want them not to come?
I am asking, when people call for peaceful demo, as stipulated in the provision of 37, and they go out, some of them join in destruction of property, while the police are mandated to protect that, and the police are witnessing. How come what happened in Molongo, there were no cops on site to stop that, while there were cops on site somewhere else to stop other things?
Where?
Was there any destruction in Kisumu? Was there any destruction in Mombasa? Was there any destruction in Busia? They were violent, but were there destruction of road? No. Because the cops were there to stop any element of criminality. In this one, we are asking questions. And for sure, if these criminals were there, then now the police must have apprehended them and charged them in court. Because we abhor violence as Azimio. Our leader, Raila Odinga, has told us, we must not participate in any violent action that is going to put this country down. We are not going to do that.
So who
we are
was
not
it?
interested in that. We don't know them. The police should tell us. The intelligence officer should tell us. We don't know them. They have said they know them. Take them to court. Don't kill them. You know, we are asking.
Were you aware that there was a demonstration that was going to take place in Mlolongo? As the leadership of Azimio that had organized the rally, the demonstrations.
I'll tell you.
You were aware of Meru. You were aware of Nairobi into Kamukunji. You were aware of these other areas, Kisumu and all. Were you aware of Mlolongo?
Eric, what happened in Mlolongo, first of all, should not happen and should never have happened because it's unfortunate. And I can tell you, Azimio supporters and members and leadership live in this country. This is our country. We know that when we lose this country, we have no other country. We cannot in any way promote violence that is going to take us out of our country. We cannot. And therefore, what I'm trying to say, what happened in what happened in Mlolongo is not Azimio. Those are not our people. Those are criminals. Our people have always demonstrated peacefully. And you know, you start peacefully, then you see a tear gas creating confusion, then criminal elements join in, so you don't know who is who. And that's why we are asking. We know where our leaders are coming from, and we know where they are. And we are holding them responsible for any action they take. The leadership that was in part of Ukambani, Mavoko, has told us they were not part of any uprooting of the road, whatever that was there. They are not part of it.
You know, the problem with the deniability in a case like ours is that both sides take a position and both sides either lay blame or cast blame or apportion blame and then also deny and say it wasn't us. But what you're right about, the function and duty of the government is actually to ensure that there is peace and order during such demonstrations. That is absolutely correct. But the question I would like to ask is, again, I remember there was a demonstration not too long ago, a couple of months ago in the middle of town, and the police did provide protection. There was no tear gas lobbied, and it was brief. People demonstrated, and it came to an end. Now, the question I want to ask is, as Azimio, when you plan your rallies, I would assume you understand how the police will respond, the police service will respond. What actions do you lay in place to ensure that even when the police respond in the manner that you've described, you are able to contain the processes that you've set forth?
You know, City, the Public Order Act requires that the planners and the organizers of any peaceful demonstration notify the police within certain time.
Notify, not seek permission.
Notify.
Yes.
The Constitution has already permitted any person, including yourself today, if you want to go and demonstrate out there, you will go. So you just notify the police. That is what Azimio has done. And you saw our leaders in every part where we notified the police. Now, when people come out and conduct elements of criminality, and it is blamed on the organizers of the event, they are forgetting that it is not only Azimio that called for peaceful demonstrations. In fact, the wording in the Constitution is peaceable. There were other sectors that were demonstrating that time. But that's not the issue. You have said there was a demo in town that was peaceful. And nothing happened. There was no looting.
No.
I concur, there was, I've seen it. In fact, myself, I accompanied Raila Odinga one day into the CBD. We were in a matatu, got into CBT, talked to the crowd. There was no looting, no police shooting. They were just there, escorting the people. Why is it that on Wednesday, such a thing did not happen countrywide? You know why? Because the public were infiltrated by criminals that the police ought to have stopped. Are you going to number your demonstrators, giving the number 1, number 2, number 3 to 1 million to identify them? Are you going to give them uniforms? Are you going to put them in a corner and say this is not? That's the question we are asking. And therefore, we are saying we don't want any form of violence. We don't want it. It is going to take us down. Look at Sondu. What happened? Ethnic violence that we witnessed. People were shot at with an arrow, bow and arrow. I've just told you there are guns that were used to kill several people in Mlolongo and Machakos. People died. Our leader gave a statement the other day, and he said it appears there's an OSU, Operation Support Unit, that is being used.
Who are OSU?
I don't know them.
What does it mean?
It means Operation Support Unit.
What does
That's
that
what it
mean?
means.
A police force
Yeah, what do they do?
in place that is being used to quell some of this violence. And in the process, we have seen people die.
Set up specifically for this, or they're in normal operation?
Why would they be called support units? Do we have violence normally? Do we have demos normally?
Can you support
It
this
appears
violence?
they are supporting something in our interpretation. So what we are saying is, as it is now, things are going left, or we can say south. Very dangerous. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the Kenya Kwanza regime say that they have mobilized their members of parliament to go to their constituencies and use the public to protect property and life. While at the same time, there are demos that have been called for on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Do you know what that means? It actually means there's going to be dangerous confrontation.
But why?
That's the question we're asking.
No.
Why would that happen?
Why would there be dangerous confrontation? If,
There's going to be dangerous
Hold on,
confrontation
hold on,
because these are two opposing sides.
No, there are two peaceful sides. If there's no
Peaceful
violence,
sides, two
that's
peaceful
what you've
sides.
told us.
No.
One side is there to protect what?
If you're protecting your property and nobody attacks it,
If there'll be no violence.
Why would you have an issue?
If this other side is also coming peaceably, like you said, why would there be
why would there be an
confrontation?
issue?
Okay.
You are coming out, you're demonstrating, you're not destroying or demolishing any property. Then the other side has nothing to
Let me
react
bring you up to speed so that you understand.
to. Yes.
I know you are an avid user of social media. One of the leaders from that side put on his Twitter handle that on Wednesday, they'll be accompanied by 2,846 people to Transmara, Kiambu, Nairobi, and all other places. Okay?
Yeah.
The other one, which was a state officer, said that they are looking at sniper. Then the other one also said, who is a state officer too, said that there's a reward of 50 million, which he lowered yesterday evening to 10 million. These are things that should scare any patriotic Kenyan. That means that when these demos happen, then they will try and stop them. That is not peaceful. That should scare you, Eric. It is not. When you talk about a sniper does not come to give you coffee and bread. A sniper does not come to shake your hands. 2,846
What
people
does
do
it
not
mean
come.
when someone writes on their Twitter, sniper?
In what context?
Exactly.
In what context?
Exactly.
At a time when people are demonstrating.
Do you understand
and they are
the context?
referring to Wednesday.
How
What
do
is
you
happening
know?
on Wednesday?
How do you know they're referring to Wednesday?
Because they indicated. Look at it. It is there.
It just
Go to-
says sniper.
Oh, Eric.
This
come
is
on.
Senator Cherargei's tweet we're talking about.
Eric.
It
when-
just says sniper.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
like someone saying risasi ni moja.
Okay. Eric, I don't want to dwell so much on this because there are so many issues that Kenyans want to listen to of importance. But I want to say it is unnecessary for state officer to do that. Let me tell you, a state officer, whether you are a member of parliament, a cabinet secretary, or you are in any office paid by taxpayers, you have given and been assigned that authority by public as a trust, and you must exercise it in a certain manner that brings honor to the office that you hold and integrity to that office, and also respect the people. When you tell us that there's a reward of 50 million, Why don't you be complete and tell us this is going to do this? When you tell us,
what's the 50 million for?
I don't know. You should tell us. So we are left guessing and speculating. We don't want to speculate at a time when people are saying, do away with this, Raila, do away with this. We must talk and talk the truth. Our truth is we have been organizing peaceful demos which have been invaded by criminals. The police should deal with the criminals because the police have got that mandate.
Okay. Should police arrest anybody? In
Police-
demonstrations?
Eric, police only arrest suspects.
Okay. When police arrest suspects, why do your leaders demand their release?
You know, when suspects are arrested, they are presented before a court of law. All the suspects that were arrested out of demo, those charges were dropped. I'm sure you're aware.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the Constitution protects them in a peaceful demonstration.
Yes.
And that's why the judges, the magistrate dropped those charges.
Okay.
And therefore, we expect that if there are criminals that are not protesters,
They should
and are
be
taken-
arrested.
They should be arrested.
Okay.
They should.
And Azimio should wait until they are taken to court and discharged dutifully by the court before they demand the release of anybody who is arrested during a
Eric, we
demonstration.
have not demanded for release of any other person, not just any other person, because we also know the people who have been identified as peaceful demonstrators and were arrested wrongfully. And those are the people that we have said, for sure, these were not criminals. And the court has granted them that opportunity to be released, and they've been released.
What is the message that you're passing with the Maandamano? Is it the same 4 issues? Stop invading our ranks in parliament, allow us to elect members of the selection panel for IEBC, open the servers, and then maybe, or if you are lucky, you reduce the cost of unga?
Our message has not changed, and is not going to change unless something new happens. Because we have said before, the issue of cost of living is affecting everyone, Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. And therefore, we have said we must go into interim measures that will lower this cost of living on the short term, mid-term, and long term. They have told us they are only interested in the long term. They are saying they are going to subsidize production. But they're forgetting to subsidize production, it will take a long time. When you are hungry and you want food, you cannot say, I want food now, I'm hungry, but I'll eat next week. You must eat now. We have said the issue of multi-party democracy, where they are deliberately using state institutions to invade Azimio constituent parties, like Jubilee, that is still on the table. We have said we must address the issue of electoral injustice, that every time, every 5 years after election, people must fight, must go and confront each other. I lost, I won, you lose. That one must be addressed, where the commission must be looked into, and we look at the IBC as a whole. We have also said we would want to see a situation where this country is not a company anymore, but remains a republic. They have told us this is a company with shares, and some of us don't have shares. Look at the appointments.
That changed. The president, it was mentioned by Aaron Cheriot in Homa Bay that those Homa Bay people have shares.
You see,
Still a company,
no.
but they're more now,
Let me tell you, I'd rather the people of Homa Bay don't have shares, but they consider themselves in a Republic of Kenya, where they enjoy the benefit of development as provided for in the law. You don't need to be in shareholding
Fredrick,
so that you get.
I was being facetious. You know,
I know that city.
There's something I want to ask. The demands that Azimio has made are clear because they've been repeated again and again. If they were met, what would they look like? Just categorize them. Cost of living. If the government met that particular demand, what would it look like? If the government met the demand for electoral injustice, what would that look like? If the government met everything that Azimio has asked for, what would we see? And at what point would we say, yes, the government has actually met these demands?
First of all, let me start from cost of living. If they were to meet it and how it would look like.
Yes.
Remember, when we started saying this, they had not passed the finance bill into an act. Today we have an act. The first thing that the Kenya Kwanza regime should do is to repeal the Finance Act 2023. Withdraw it in entirety. So that we look at tax measures that are going to cushion the people of Kenya and not tax measures that are oppressive and dignified and are not dignifying the lives of Kenyans.
Excuse me, teacher. Muko na idea what those measures would be?
Yes, we do. And we have tabled them. We have talked about subsidies in the short term. We have talked about expanding the tax base and avoiding overtaxation. We have talked about doing away with this issue of invading civil servants' payslips, increasing payee, increasing NHIF, NSSF, levy, housing. Are
those contained in a document that says amend this and that so that you can expand the tax base?
When you watch the
amend
debate,
this and
yes,
the other,
yes,
so that
and
you
when
can
you watch
have
the debate in Parliament, you saw Mbadi proposed amendments. Honorable Mbui proposed amendment. Our members in the floor proposed amendment, but because there's a cosmetic majority, they overruled. We are saying we have done
if it was
everything
cosmetic,
possible.
how did they overrule?
You can use cosmetic numbers irresponsibly, and you do that. It's possible.
Fredrick.
It's possible. So the other issue of multi-party democracy, how would it look like? Number one, we are a multi-party democracy.
Right.
When you have a member of another coalition joining another coalition and still insisting that he must be in a leadership of the former coalition, what are you saying? You are killing democracy. And the law is clear on who to become a member of what. You are a member of one party, you cannot be a member of two parties. You will be deemed to have resigned. They don't want to resign. And the issue of electoral reforms, how would it look like? We have said electoral reforms in this country are important to give the public confidence in elections. Today, we are coming from an election that we don't even believe in the commission. And you're telling us you want to reconstitute it, then you push the cosmetic numbers, amend the Electoral Act, and now put a panel that is pro-you. What are you telling us? It must be the people.
Why are your members so easily swayed?
Why is Kenya Kwanza swaying our members?
Well, it's politics. Why are your members so easily swayed?
It's also politics.
Why can't they, if your coalition really stood for something and has proper leadership, then they would be, coming towards that leadership?
Eric, you cannot doubt the leadership of Azimio because we have stood for something and we have been very consistent.
Well,
what is happening?
Your leadership is not just the top. Your leadership,
I know, even in Parliament,
even the elected
even
members
at the MCA level,
are leaders.
I know that.
So
you cannot
why
doubt
are
that.
they so
you
easily
cannot
swayed?
doubt that. The reason why you cannot
there
doubt
are those
that
have gone. There are those that you've repeated here today. Their claims by Azimio leadership that they bought them. So
it's
they
not a
can
claim.
be away from.
It's not a claim.
So it's true.
It's not a claim. It is true. They bought
So
them.
why are people who were vetted by your political parties, by ODM, by Jubilee, and given the ticket after being vetted? Why would they be so easily swayed?
Because
barely a year into office.
Because the reason why that is happening, because somebody is trying to legitimize themselves. And when you're trying to legitimize yourself, you consolidate power through all means. Unfortunately, some of our members fell on that trap. And the public know that because these people were elected on the ideology of Azimio or Azimio Constituent Party, they don't stand for them. Some of them have told us they're going to State House to look for development. In access to services, Eric, the law says that the state organs shall ensure adequate provision of services to the extent that is possible in all over the republic.
Okay.
They don't say you will go to State House to get it. In any case, every Kenyan has a right to access to that service. You don't need to relate in any way with the president. You can go to President's State House and take tea and mandazi and go home.
So
there's nothing wrong with that.
You disagree with one leader, with the leaders who have out of their own volition, decided to vote a certain way.
I disagree.
And yours is democracy.
I disagree with any leader who has voted against the wishes of the people. The wishes of the people were such that they don't want a housing levy. They want food. The wishes of the people were such that they don't want incremental in taxes. They want it lowered. The wishes of people, Eric, were such that they want a stable country where there are no many taxes and they can do business in a fair environment. Those wishes were thwarted down by a section of members of Parliament. Those are the people I disagree with.
All right.
Any leader who voted no on those proposals, I agree with him, because the law says that the member of Parliament shall address issues of concern to the people. The concern now is high cost of living that has culminated to so many issues. Yes.
All right. All of this has culminated in the demonstrations,
Yes.
whether we want to admit it or not.
Yes.
That all of this debate has said, well, if you're not going to listen to us on the House of Parliament, if you're not going to listen to us in terms of what we've been saying in the public arena, then what we're going to do is that we will demonstrate, we will lobby, we will picket until you hear us. In relation to kind of what CT asked later, at what point then does this diffuse? At what point does it then release? What would be one thing that would happen for us to say, okay, at least we're at a place now where the communication is clear, and beyond the clear communication, something is being done about it? You know why, Fred? Because people are looking at Wednesday or any other day when demonstrations are called with anxiety.
Trepidation.
They're afraid.
There's a lot of tension.
Oh, yes.
I will give you an example of people here in this office on Wednesday who couldn't get home for hours, who were afraid to even leave. People almost came to physical bodily harm. That is the real situation.
Yeah.
Forget about the pontification that is happening between one side and another. Let's look at the situation on the ground.
Our producer,
For whom
Ednah, was
was
hit with
hit
a
in her
stone.
glasses, her stone.
Oh,
One
no.
glass came
Not
out.
held by the police.
Right? So this is my question. There are two sides that are talking to each other at this level. Everybody's talking about the people. Let me tell you, the people thinking about Wednesday are scared. The people who will go to jobs where they will be paid a daily rate, they will close their businesses on Friday, those people will not work. They will not earn. And the result of that, they will not feed their families. The people for whom are being fought for then are going to wake up on Wednesday morning with uncertainty in terms of what is going to happen. The people will be worried about whether they will send their children to school on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, because when they did last week, Wednesday, some children returned dead. Now, that's the people. My question is, and unfair to ask you what the other side will do, but fair to ask you, since you're in the room here today, what would need to happen for such a situation that I have described to cease to exist?
Thank you. We had hoped, as the public and members of Azimio, that Kenya Kwanza regime would have listened. On 2nd April, Honorable William Ruto announced to the public that he has listened to what Raila Odinga and team are raising, and there are fundamental issues that require solutions, and he was willing to address those issues together with Raila Odinga through a bipartisan talk. We went to bipartisan talk to address some of these issues, and one of the conditions that each team gave each other was to put interim measures. Interim measure number one on our side: cease all mandamano. Interim measure on their side: cease invading political parties in Azimio. The other interim measure on our side that we gave them: cease the recruitment, the one-sided recruitment of IBC commissioners. All these things were to be put on pen and paper, and then we move forward. You know what happened? The letters were drafted, they never signed. Number two, what should happen now so that we don't witness what we witnessed on Wednesday? That requires leadership from both ends. Raila Odinga has demonstrated leadership, and he has said, I have seen what is happening to the people of Kenya. I have seen them being killed by a unit. I have seen How these people are now scaremongering, scapegoating about Uhuru Kenyatta, fearmongering, and using propaganda machinery to scare the people of Kenya not to get their voices heard. Please, don't do it. Listen to them so that we address these issues. What have they told us? They are going to counter the demos from their constituencies, and that should not happen. They're going to arrest Raila Amolo Odinga. They're going to do... That is not how you solve problems. We have a situation and must be addressed. It requires for leadership from both sides. We are asking them. They should show magnanimity, as we have shown. They should come to the table and listen to the public. They should not even listen to Raila Odinga if they don't like Raila Odinga. Listen to Mama Mboga in Gorogocho, who is saying, my kids slept without food for the last 5 days, and they're now going to school with an empty stomach and no school fee. They should listen to Boda Boda, who is saying, I'm now paying 200 shillings a litre for petrol that, in my view, I should pay 70. They should listen to that person in Homa Bay, Kasipul, Kabondo, where I come from, that is saying, you promised us when you get into power 70 shillings of unga, 2 packet, and now it is 250 or 200. That is what they should do. If they just attempt to listen, I can tell you, these public that are annoyed now, they say, okay, fine, they are listening.
Yeah.
What do we do?
You know something? I asked you a question of her. I said, all these things that you're hearing, what does it tell you? Historically, I go back to 1991, 4th December, Moi Kasarani, Kanu delegates meeting, and the crucial issue, we're talking about multipartism. We're a single party state then. The cacophony. Everyone who stood up, man, there is nothing they didn't say. And they were all against. They said never, Nini, what, he, who. Everyone said everything they could possibly say against multipartism and what, and Moi being whatever. And then the president stood up and said, actually, folks, I've listened to you, but I think we should allow multipartism. The thing that I found interesting was the change. The very same people who had been saying, we don't want, immediately the president said, we are going to have it. That is what we wanted. In fact, multipartism is I thought, my goodness, am I hearing this right? Then, we had a bit of a problem in 2007, 2008. Before Kofi Annan came, other people came in and said what they wanted to say. Ramaphosa, they said, go away. That is Raila's friend. We don't want such nonsense. Okay? They brought the Ghanaian. The Ghanaian had credentials. He had been in prison for some 6 months.
He was the AU chairman.
Yes, he had credentials. So, this prison thing and detention, he had creds. The noises that were made, Martha was on one side, Ruto. They were the people who were protagonists, head to head. A middle ground was found. Uhuru Kenyatta, before this so-called handshake that we keep speaking of, there's nothing Uhuru Kenyatta did not say about Raila Odinga. There's nothing he didn't say.
That's true.
Right now, there are people who, there's nothing they're not saying. We'll protect, we will, and we will, What does it tell you is happening?
What does it say?
I wouldn't want to say what is happening.
Let's end it on that note.
But I would want to say what should happen. We should have one country that is hopeful every day we wake up.
Bas.
We should have one country that the leaders see the need to address the concerns of the public.
All leaders.
All.
Exactly. And also we should have Fredrick. A country that does not use propaganda machinery to scare its citizens.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.